Hassan, how were you able to gain clearance for our expedition?
Well, with the beginning of expeditions from Scotland and England, I was able to pull some strings for us since we have been disguised as homegrown scientists to preserve our history.
Can you believe we've been living here for 45 years, old friend?
No, Harvey, but only because we really had to get creative on how to thrive here and to finish our work to help anyone still alive in the future. Did you bring the element from the States?
Yes, luckily Washington was not a state yet, so I was able to buy an expedition. I mined for the element and also mined for gold so no one asked questions.
And did you visit our friend in England?
Yes, and you will never believe who I also saw. General Thomas Mulberry II himself.
What?
Yeah, he was pleased with our work and will be joining us in a few days. Why, is something the matter?
It's probably nothing. Just tell me you have the serum.
Yeah, just like the files from Constance say, our friend in England knew just what to do. It is a good thing that we grabbed them before playing with those metal shards.
The only thing I don't understand, why did Constance send us the wrong formula?
There had to be a good reason. Probably to hide the real secret and to make sure we were sent in the past with the idea of preparing for the future.
Now we dig. We need to hide the serum in those tunnels underneath the Great Pyramid that no one knows about, and we have to get there without letting anyone else know about them.
What's the plan?
Based on our old reports, we found our other Shadow Brigade members in the past. The final battle will happen here many years in the future. Protection from infection will be a must, and I had a dream that Constance was in trouble. So we must carefully place these items and write a note that will last through time.
I just hope Dr. Musgrave got the serum correct.
So do I.
Everyone, we now know the final two chosen one contenders, and the relic flashed before our eyes again. It seems to be in a chest buried somewhere in our vicinity. The two who won team names remember the Titans and the Great Superior Super Vowels. Don't you feel its power pulling you towards it? We must find it before we head to the Great Pyramid to conclude our quest. What was that?
Did you think you can trick your ruler that easy? The shadows are angry, and I suggest you give up the relic or suffer the consequences.
Timothy. Do you not remember me? Probably not. My voice and appearance have changed so many times since the Shadow Brigade in Project Peter Pan. Mostly because of your master's doing.
I have no time for your human games. Bring me the relic. Bring me the green ball.
Franklin, I know you're still in there. Don't let yourself become fully infected.
Run, Constance. Get away while you still can. I can't fight it for the law.
Constance, do you remember when I hired you? You were so angry. It was so delicious.
I do not care about these games. I want my friend back.
I'm so glad I could bring you here to this playground I've created so you can see the true failures of Project Peter Pan and all your Shadow Brigade friends. It was so easy, too.
I am not going to ask again. I want my friend back.
You are boring me. But I also want you to see the true failure of humanity when I destroy the relic and get rid of your so-called chosen ones. In the process of that as we speak, so I think you should run now.
And why should I do that?
Because if you don't, I'll make Franklin a walking dead puppet of mine. I don't need you alive to control you puny humans. I only keep you alive because the fear is just so delectable. Now run.
Are you sure this was the place in your dream?
Yes, this is it. I can feel it.
Then all that's left is the note.
Let me be of assistance with that.
So, General, he never said. How did you end up in this time?
I'm confused on how you were able to escape Shadow Brigade headquarters.
General, how did you know about what happened at Shadow Brigade headquarters? When the place was put into mandatory shutdown, all contact with the outside was lost.
You know, sometimes it is difficult to understand the way you humans think and put words together. I try so hard, but even I sometimes mess up.
You're not the general, are you?
Hassan, run!
The world's essence slows, shadows spread from the pyramids to the oceans to the coasts. But behold the test, a smoking gun, a quest passed down for generations. A prophesized hero, the champion. In order to save everyone, thou must drink from the cup. 12 of us on this mission. What's next? 17 weeks to be the best. Injuries and buys, thou should have guessed. The waiver wire request was denied, but maybe a trade will provide an edge and a chance to be a legend. Fight for humanity, reach the goal. It's a quest for the Green Bowl. Green Bowl. It's a quest for the Green It's a quest for the Green Bowl. Let's do this. Let's do this. It's a quest for the Green Bowl. Green Bowl.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Bowl, the Shadows of Chaos. We've made it to championship week and the penultimate episode of this fantasy football show with a twist. I'm your host and Green Bowl finalist, Anthony Oatso, and we have a fun show today with previews of all of our place match games, the Void Bowl, which is the 11th place match, the Apocalypse Bowl, which is the 9th place match, the Tesseract Bowl, which is the Consolation final, the Lightning Bowl, which is the 5th place match, the Roman Bowl, which is the 3rd place match, and of course the Green Bowl, the championship match. I'm feeling like a history buff this week as well, so I will also give the history lesson that brings you truly up to speed in our league, the ultimate ranking of our previous 6 Green Bowls, as you will learn who has won in the past and which championships went down to the wire. And of course, we will continue our post-apocalyptic sci-fi, slightly cosmic horror theme story a little later as well. But first, we really need to dive into these results from this past week to see how we got here. Starting in the consolation bracket, Loki Lebowski Thor hosted My Heart Will Go On at the Philosopher's Swamp with revenge on his mind after My Heart Will Go On knocked him out of the playoffs a few weeks ago. By the time the match began, this was actually a 50-50 toss-up, but Loki Lebowski Thor took the match over on Sunday in a 111.2 to 88.88 win. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams started strong for My Heart Will Go On Saturday with a combined 5 touchdowns, but Kyler Murray did rush for 74 yards with the touchdown to go with his 245 passing yards to come close to Rodgers' score. And on Sunday, it was all Lebowski Thor as Burkhead rushed for 2 scores. Beckham and Schultz each caught a touchdown, and the Buccaneers defense collected 7 sacks and an interception. Javonte Williams and Deontay Johnson both had touchdowns for My Heart Will Go On, and the Raiders defense allowed just 13 points and added 2 sacks. But a 0 was left in with Darren Waller, and no one else really stepped up. Low-key Lebowski Thor moves on to the Tesseract Bowl, and My Heart Will Go On settles for the Apocalypse Bowl. In the other consolation semifinal, the Siamese Dreamcats hosted the Stellar Bitches at the Sea of Angels as the Dreamcats looked to win the 3rd game against the Bitches this season. And it wasn't even close. The Dreamcats destroyed the Bitches 113.7 to 46.48. The Stellar Bitches essentially gave up and took 3 zeros here, and really only had Elliott do well with a couple of touchdowns. The Cats, on the other hand, had 2 scores by Carson Wentz and 2 scores by the Cowboys defense in a huge game. Montgomery added 106 yards and a touchdown, and Freeman also reached the end zone. Metcalf also finally had a touchdown, and Chase and Pitts combined for 227 yards. The Dreamcats move on to the Tesseract Bowl to take on Loki, Lebowski, Thor, and the Stellar Bitches settle for the Apocalypse Bowl against My Heart Will Go On. And now we move on to the
Championship semifinals,
which took place at the Coliseum of Warriors. In the first semifinal, we had top-seeded and defending champion Galgal taking on 5th-seeded and last year's runner-up, Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans only had a 50.7% chance to win coming in, but that quickly ballooned after Saturday's results and continued to balloon after the monster NFL record books performance by quarterback Joe Burrow. Remember, the Titans ended up winning 121.8 to 96.9 as the curse of the number 1 seed continues for a 7th season in our league. That's right, the number 1 seed has never even made the Green Bowl, let alone win one. Burrow, of course, was a big reason for this win with 525 passing yards, 11 rushing yards, and 4 passing touchdowns, including a 50-plus yard score. Waiver wire pickup Justin Jackson was also huge with 2 touchdowns and 162 total yards, and Kupp and Jefferson combined for 229 yards. Key to the game, Cordarrelle Patterson also found the end zone despite only having 13 yards. Galgal only had 108 yards by Jonathan Taylor and 110 total yards by his key to the game, Najee Harris. The lack of touchdowns by them really hurt here, as did leaving in an injured Crowder and getting almost nothing out of Van Jefferson. He did get 330 passing yards and 4 touchdowns by Dak Prescott in a monster game, and 5 sacks and 4 interceptions by the Packers defense, but that only kept his score respectable. Remember the Titans gets his revenge and is off to his 2nd straight Green Bowl, joining Meow Masters, the only league teams to ever make it to back-to-back championship games. Galgal settles for the Roman Bowl. In the other semifinal, we had a closer game, a much closer game that came down to Monday night with my 2nd-seeded Great Superior Superb Owls taking on 6th-seeded Uncle Justy in a rematch from last year's quarterfinals. And unlike last year, it was my Superb Owls turning a 62.8% chance to win into a 133.42 to 101.76 victory. Things were definitely up in the air come Sunday night with Uncle Justy up 4 points with kicker Greg Zuerlein going. A big reason for that was 314 passing yards, 64 rushing yards, and 3 passing touchdowns by Josh Allen, 85 yards and a score by Stephon Diggs, and 81 yards and a score by Ronald Jones. Key to the game, Antonio Brown also had 101 yards but failed to find the end zone, and Hunter Renfrow chipped in with a touchdown. But Zuerlein ended up disappointing a bit on Sunday night with just 8 extra points. That meant the lead was 12 going into Monday, and that lead quickly imploded as the Dolphins' defense went off for 8 sacks, 2 interceptions, a touchdown, and just 3 points allowed, and Waddle added 92 yards and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel started things off well on Thursday with 192 total yards, and Nick Chubb brought his magic on Saturday with 184 yards and a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes stepped up on Sunday with 258 yards and 3 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs lost a fumble, but did end up with 124 yards to get over 10 points. Overall, it was a very strong performance by both teams, but Uncle Justy has to settle for the Roman Bowl against Galgal with a chance to finish 3rd. The Superb Owls, on the other hand, are off to their first Green Bowl after coming close a few times before and are riding an 8-game winning streak with the Remember the Titans up next with the 2021 title on the line. The wins were definitely nice for both me and Remember the Titans, and we came into the playoffs ranked
first and third in the computer power rankings, and we've had some of our best weeks lately. So I'm guessing this is going to be a battle. Remember, the Titans, of course, joined me to discuss the semifinals and our date in the 2021 Green Bowl.
What's going on? Welcome back to the Green Bowl, Scott G. It's been a wild ride too. I mean, it was a little different from last year for you, huh? Like, you kind of had a lot of close games this year. You had to crawl. You were essentially in the playoffs in the regular season because you needed to win a lot just to get in. But now here you are. Is this what you expect? Did you expect to get back here?
I felt good coming out of the draft, and especially early in the season once Cooper Kupp took off the way that he did, even though I stupidly benched him in week 3 and it cost me a win. I thought about that a lot in the last weeks when I was like having to fight for my playoff life of how bad I was going to feel if I had a loss that would have gotten me into the playoffs with him on my bench. But, I felt good about the draft, and it was mostly just about piecing together the running back position. And I've gotten lucky with a few timely waiver ads. Cordarrelle Patterson has been solid for part of the year. And this past week, Justin Jackson, obviously, with Eckler out and capitalizing on the uncertainty surrounding everything with COVID and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that I expected to get back here, but I'm not totally surprised. I felt good about my team coming into the year.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously you make a bit of league history as well. You're only the second team to ever make it to back-to-back Green Bowls. No one's ever won 2 in a row.
And I sadly won't have the opportunity to win my second in a row since I lost last year, but I vanquished the person who beat me last year. So that feels good too. It feels like maybe I'm just slaying the dragons of last season with you left in front of me.
Oh yeah, I have to say, when you talked about your kind of path, Cooper Kupp, you benched him that one time, but then he really helped you. The way he scored touchdowns and the points he has, you can make the case that he could have been the number 1 overall pick as a wide receiver. How excited are you to have him? I mean, obviously to win the championship, you usually need that one guy that could go off, and he's one of your guys that could go off. So.
Yeah, I mean, and I think they're going against Baltimore this week, which which last week helped me with Joe Burrow going against a struggling secondary. So I'm hopeful that he can be the one to capitalize this week. But yeah, I mean, that pick just worked out so much. And like going into the season, I honestly thought he and Robert Woods would both just be like equal and both do pretty well with Stafford at QB, but he's next level, man. And yeah, I'll be really curious to see where he goes in drafts next year now with the same offense coming back.
Oh yeah, that's pretty crazy. So sort of sticking with that, because you had that Joe Burrow monster game. What were your thoughts? We kind of talked about it last week, your thoughts going into the semifinal, but when you see Jonathan Taylor only get 10 points, which, is decent, but when a guy could get 50, when he gets 10, you're just like, thank you, no touchdowns. Yeah. And then you have Cooper Kupp, obviously helping you this past week as well. So, but Joe Burrow was the guy. I mean, let's be honest, he almost dropped 50 points, just setting, was that the 4th best passing yards in NFL history? Just insane. And they were still throwing them like at the end of the game. It was almost like they were trying to get him the record, or up those leaderboards. So, I mean, just, did you expect Joe Burrow to just go nuts? I mean, I know the Ravens were on their 4th string cornerbacks, but still, like that's pretty impressive to see that.
I expected a decent game. I mean, like, I probably was hopeful that he would put up like 25 or 30. Certainly you never expect a 48-point game, but I certainly was excited that it was a division rivalry, because I think that probably played into why they were still throwing so big in the 4th quarter. I think had they been facing, I don't know, the Seahawks or something, meaningless team opponent, they probably would have run the ball a bit more, but they said, no, we want to stick it to the Ravens a little bit. And I was very appreciative of that, because especially when, Sunday night comes around and Dak puts up 39 himself. And it has a huge game. And so had they stopped throwing, I would have been a bit more nervous watching that game play out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was crazy. That actually helped me in my match as well, because all those touchdowns, Zerline only got extra points. So I was very happy about that, going into my matchup on Monday, only needing 13 points by Waddle and the Dolphins defense. That made it a lot easier I had a lot more confidence going in. I still was a little worried, but
right.
But here we are, man. We're both in the Green Bowl, me against you, and of course, we have that rivalry. So the Golden Pen is back on the line as well. So there are 2 trophies coming up here.
Yeah, how are you feeling being back here in the championship?
Oh, it's been a while in fantasy purposes because I've mostly spent a lot of time in this league. I used to play like 3-4 leagues a year, but I've really just put like a lot of effort into this league lately. But I've never actually made it in this league. I had several teams that could have made it, and I just got upset in the playoffs. Something happened, injuries happened, whatever, bad weeks. So just to be here is amazing because I've been trying to build this team for, this is our 7th season now. So that's pretty awesome to definitely be in this position. And it's like, obviously both of us want to win it. You probably more than me since you lost last year. You don't want to be the Buffalo Bills of the league. But it's just it's fun, and it's the ride was pretty good. And if you remember, when I was 3-1 and I lost 3 in a row, I had a couple injuries and a couple like games where my guys just were way under projections, and I was 3-4 all of a sudden. And I literally said, I have confidence that I could run the table here. And here I am, 8 wins in a row. So we'll see if it continues going into this week. And of course, the last time we played, I had the 2nd best weekly score ever. So I could hope for that. I mean, 165 plus points I dropped against you. And you didn't have that bad of a week then either. So I'm sure you're hoping that I'm done with that.
I would like you guys to take it a little easier than that this week.
Well, the computers expect this to be a high scoring, super close battle. It has at the moment, and it always fluctuates because the computers take into account injuries and all that later. So like the points will fluctuate a bit. Mm-hmm. It's essentially 50-50, but it has me at 50, like 2.8% favorite or something. So I mean, it's gonna be a battle. I expect this to go to Monday night. Like I expect needing like 20 points from Nick Chubb or something like that. That's what I'm expecting. And it's possible, but it's going to be nerve-wracking. Yeah. Obviously we're going to be looking for those beast games because that's what turns it in these types of things. If you get a guy that scores 20, 30 points or a quarterback that scores almost 50, that kind of changes. We might both, Chiefs Bengals might be a shootout, but
I was just going to say, I mean, Chiefs Bengals is going to be so key to our matchup with both our quarterbacks, you with Tyreek and me with Kelsey coming back. That's going to be a heck of a game to watch.
Oh yeah. So, obviously I think it's going to be definitely close, nerve wracking. What are your feelings going in? I mean, do you expect that same kind of that struggle, like the whole time, just even when you take a lead, you're not comfortable?
Oh yeah. Especially with you having like Kittle and Debo in the late afternoon games, both of who can just, go off at any time. I don't think there will be any point at which I'm like confident I have the game won. And so it's going to be really interesting just to see sort of how it goes back and forth. And a lot of our studs, will be going at noon, and then we both have a few guys in that 3 p.m. window. And then Jefferson for me Sunday night, and you have Chubb Monday night. And that's just going to be both of those guys, I feel like, have a great opportunity to have huge games. And so there's just no point where you can feel comfortable or confident about how it's going to turn out.
Oh yeah. It's good. It's going to be fun. That's for sure. I think this might, based on the projections and everything and my gut feeling, I feel like this might be one of the best Green Bowls in our league history. It might be one of those all-timers,
I hope so.
So now I got to ask you, what would it mean to you to be the chosen one, to hold that trophy, save humanity? Like what's it going to mean to you, especially coming so close last year,
Oh, it would be awesome, man. I mean, I play fantasy football in a few leagues and have for a good number of years here, and I've only won one title, and it was last year in a league with some friends, and so it would be awesome to get a win here and be the chosen one, and even cooler with like the story narrative arc you've been doing throughout all this. Although I do have to say, it feels like it would be quite appropriate for you to have written a story that ends with yourself as the winner. So I don't know if that's like predestined or anything. Makes me a little nervous, but it would be really cool to win this league. It's a good competitive league, and you talked about it in your draft analysis, but I sort of went out there taking a tight end in the first round, and built my team around that, and had some bad injury luck and stuff early with some running backs, and so like, pulling it together to win this one would mean a lot. Definitely, I'd feel great about my in-season management and how I navigated the waters.
Oh yeah, and I don't think anyone's gonna. If you win the title, then that Travis Kelce pick was huge, especially if he's the one. I mean, he went off in your quarterfinal game, so
yes, he did.
That you needed that. He's had some downers, but all tight ends do. I mean, just like George Kittle, like he's definitely helped me along the way. It'd be fun. Both of them could drop 30 points, and how rare is that for a tight end?
Great tight end battle would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's just amazing. Of course, I'm super excited too. I mean, I'm jacked for this game. Like you said, it's kind of funny. Kind of writing the theme story for us. It'd be funny. It'd be very funny if I ended up winning it because, obviously I'm going to have high hopes all year and I'm trying to win it. But it still would be a little unexpected because, it's difficult to win. And, even though we have 2-time champions in our league, even they needed luck to get there. So, it's just one of those things where it's just any of us could win, especially when you get to the tournament. I still think it's harder to make the playoffs than it is to win, because of that luck you can get in these couple of weeks, but and then matchups and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of crazy if I won the whole thing, with the theme story. I definitely rewrite a couple of parts, to throw myself into it. Cause I have a general, of course, so that I could just put in whoever wins, but it's just, I would do a big rewrite for the last portion of it,
You have to.
Yeah. So, I think it's going to be awesome. And I just, I'm definitely glad that we're both here along for this ride, because you were definitely one of the teams that definitely played all year. You talked about, having injuries and everything, and even Justin, but you took out Gal, who took a couple of weeks off, including last week, surprisingly leaving in a 0. So I think that we are definitely two of the teams. And if you remember at the power rankings heading in, you were third, I was first. So I feel like the computers had this one picked. They had Ethan as second, Risky Business. So he kind of, Uncle Justy got the big upset there. But it's, I think this is going to be an all-time battle. I think even though you were 7-7 in the season, I think at the end of the year, you definitely played really well. So I would say we're two of the best teams going in here, especially in the last half of the season. So I think it's going to be a battle, man.
I agree. And I'm excited to have it against you.
Yeah, for sure. So, and we might get a little extra motivation from this next segment, because I'm giving everybody a little bit of a league history lesson, ranking the previous 6 Green Bowls for all 6 of them, to the best one. And which one could it be? I don't know. I hate to open old wounds with you as well, because you're going to be there somewhere. Where do you fall? I don't know. But, it's going to be good. So let's get to the countdown. I start with the 6th best of our Green Bowls, the 2019 beatdown, as 4th-seeded Risky Business defeated 2nd-seeded Meow Master 148.72 to 74.82. This was, of course, Risky Business's first year in the league, too, as he won 6 straight games at the end of the year to take home the championship. Meow Master took an early lead with an 84-yard and 2-touchdown performance by Jared Cook, but it quickly evaporated. Risky Business
ended up taking the lead during the early window of Sunday games and never looked back, finishing with the most points in a Green Bowl in league history. Lamar Jackson had 238 passing yards, 103 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. Aaron Jones had 160 total yards and 2 scores. Alvin Kamara, whom he picked up in a trade earlier in the year, had 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Miles Sanders added 156 yards and a score. Overall, it was an epic win over a 2-time champion who was the defending champion at the time. So that was a pretty crazy time. But it was such a blowout, number 6 on our list. The 5th best Green Bowl came last season in 2020 in a low-scoring game as second-seeded Gal defeated 4th-seeded Remember the Titans 92.3 to 87.08. It was a close match with Gal taking an early lead and Remember the Titans also leading for a bit while also tying the match twice through Sunday afternoon. It actually went down to Monday night with the need for Tyler Bass to score 13 points. He came to within a few field goals, but just never could get the chances that Remember the Titans needed, and Gal was able to come away with his first title. Jared Cook had 85 yards and a score, and T. Higgins had 99 yards and a score. Allen Robinson and Darren Waller also combined for 215 total yards, and Antonio Brown also reached the end zone. Remember, the Titans did take that brief lead with a Mike Davis score. Dobbins also scored, as did Ayuk, but it was Gal who had snuck into the second seed with a few extremely low-scoring games and a couple of non-coaching weeks and still picking up wins. It was him who came away with the title. Of course, Remember the Titans is back in it this year, so we'll see what happens. The 4th best Green Bowl was in 2017 with the second title for Loki Lebowski Thor, who was then called the Mighty Mash Tuns. The second-seeded Mash Tuns defeated 4th-seeded McGiblets, a former league member, 106.26 to 94.74 in what was a fun matchup despite the double-digit loss. McGiblets started strong with a lead and had a few decent games with a score by Mark Ingram, 147 yards by LaShawn McCoy, and a couple of touchdowns by Ben Roethlisberger, but Todd Gurley changed this game. Gurley had 276 total yards and 2 scores to lead the Mash Tuns, who also had a touchdown by Frank Gore, another by Alex Smith, who also had over 300 passing yards, and over 100 yards by Keelan Cole. This, of course, was the second Green Bowl title in 3 years for the Mash Tuns. This was our 3rd year of the league, so just an amazing start to his Green Bowl career. The 3rd best Green Bowl was in 2016 with 5th-seeded Meow Master winning the first of her 2 titles, defeating 2nd-seeded Multiple Scoregasms 123.16 to 114.8. The Scoregasms took the early lead, but Meow Master took the lead back and kept the Scoregasms chasing the rest of the way. That much-needed late touchdown never came, though, despite having 7 total for the game. Meow Master was led by Tom Brady's 3 scores, David Johnson's 3 scores, and Charles Clay's 2 scores. And Meow Master is still the only team in league history to win a Green Bowl while being under 500 in the regular season, only 6-7 going into the playoffs, getting several upsets. It was a crazy year for Meow Master. The 2nd best Green Bowl is our inaugural year back in 2015 when Lebowski Thor, then known as Tunnel Snakes Rule, went into the league history books as our first champion. 2nd-seeded Tunnel Snakes Rule defeated 5th-seeded The Noise, a former league member, 97.84 to 72.66. Tunnel Snakes Rule led the whole way in this one, but it was the Jaguars and Saints game that made this one to remember. Tim Hightower had 2 touchdowns, 169 yards, and Allen Robinson caught a 90-plus yard score and finished with 151 yards. The Bills' defense also made some nifty plays with 2 forced turnovers and only 6 points allowed. There's just something about that first title, and this was the first in our league. It's definitely up there. The overall match might have been out there, but I mean, come on. First championship, I mean, that was just nuts. Finally, our top Green Bowl was back in 2018, the 2nd title in 3 years for Meow Master. That's right, the first titles in the league alternated between Lebowski Thor and Meow Master. Here, 5th-seeded Meow Master defeated 2nd-seeded Green Acres 102.34 to 98.46. This match was back and forth the whole time, probably the closest overall Green Bowl. Green Acres took the lead early before a Mike Evans score made the game closer for Meow Master. A touchdown by Michael Thomas helped both teams, but it wasn't enough to give Green Acres the leeway he needed, and Meow Master finally took a lead after a 45-yard reception by Tyler Lockett in the late afternoon games. Green Acres had the last play of the matchup with the Broncos defense and took the lead at the start of the game against the Raiders, but the Broncos allowed 27 points and only had 1 sack, so the lead shrunk and finally went away, sealing the fate of Green Acres. Meow Master was led by McCaffrey's 177 yards, Breeze 326 yards and a score, Evans 90 yards and a score, and 109 yards by Elliott. Deshaun Watson did have 4 touchdowns for Green Acres, but in the end, it was Meow Master who came away victorious, finishing the most improbable run at the title, knocking off the team that set the regular season points record and no multiple scoregasms, the top-seeded 2-time champion in Lebowski Thor, and then called the Mighty Mighty Mashtons, and then Green Acres, who also had a great season, being the 2 seed. Regardless of the outcomes, these teams are, of course, enshrined in the lore of this league. And remember, the Titans will be looking to shake off his 2020 performance and get some redemption in 2021. Where will this year's Green Bowl end up on the all-time list? It's time to look ahead to all the championship week matches. Starting on the consolation bracket side, in the Void Bowl, we get the multiple scoregasms hosting Meow Master at the Gateway Islands. The winning team gets the first pick in next year's draft, and the losing team will be known as the aimless drifter, lost in time and space. The multiple scoregasms come in with a 73.6% chance to win due to Meow Master taking 3 guaranteed zeros. The scoregasms do have to make a lineup change with a player on IR, but they do have Antonio Gibson. And of course, that matchup with Mike Davis will be big. Ryan Tannehill versus Jalen Hurts and Aaron Jones versus A.J. Brown will also probably be keys to this match. The Colts versus 49ers defense might also be a game changer, as Meow Master does have players that could get a lot of points despite those zeros. In the Apocalypse Bowl, the Stellar Bitches host My Heart Will Go On at the Misty Forest, with the winner getting the second pick in next year's draft. Will go on as the 86.9% favorite right now due to the Stellar Bitches taking a guaranteed zero with Miles Sanders ruled out. Aaron Rodgers versus Matthew Stafford and Ezekiel Elliott versus Devontae Adams look to be some of the lone spots for the Bitches to make up points here. My Heart Will Go On looks poised to win unless touchdowns get lopsided somehow. And in the Tesseract Bowl, we get Low-Key Lebowski Thor hosting the Siamese Dreamcats at the Philosopher's Swamp. The winning team here gets the third pick in next year's draft. Cats have a 63% chance to win at the moment, but that again depends on the health of Lamar Jackson and whether Delvin Cook could come off the COVID-19 list. Melvin Gordon versus David Montgomery, DK Metcalf versus Odell Beckham Jr., and the Cowboys versus the Buccaneers defense look to be other spots to watch here. Of course, those are all important matchups because it sets the top of the draft order in 2022, but before we get into the championship bracket matches, let's learn the fate of those helping to fight for humanity.
Constance? Where are you, Constance?
We only want to drink your fear.
Do not mourn your friend. I can always reanimate him for you. I mean, did you really think your pathetic plan would work? I'm not sure how you were able to get the proper metal shards to go to these points in the past where I couldn't find you. You were supposed to end up way before any of this with your idiot friend, James.
James? Where is he?
Food is what he would have become, but I was too busy to really pay attention. Now tell me where the relic is.
I don't know.
Do not be a fool like the one who made the prophecy. I know you were in the cave. You were all in the cave. Where is the green bowl?
You're just gonna kill me anyway. Why should I help you?
There are far worse things than death. Maybe I'll show you how your friends take the fake serum and think they have protection against me.
Or maybe I press this button and turn us both into dust, leaving you without a real vessel.
Enough of this.
This is for my friends. In general, I am sorry.
No!
Is Musgrave even alive in there anymore?
It has been a while with him as a vessel. I believe his brain couldn't handle it, as it seizes all activity. But I can.
Still talk like him.
No more games. Where is it?
Right here, actually.
Finally, I shall rule your pathetic dimension forever, and nothing will be able to stop me.
Expect the unexpected. Remember William? It was he who changed time. It was he who hid the green bowl. And it was he who bound my time scoop to the chest once we found it. Everyone, close your eyes!
No! Now I will kill your precious Constance. I will crush your puny skull, Constance.
I want my friend back!
Do you not think that I prepared for your defense already? I was already here with your friends. It was I who created the note on the wall. It was I who influenced your precious serum.
You're forgetting one thing. And here I thought you were everywhere and saw everything.
Enough. I will dispatch of you, and then I will dispatch of you and your friend. Wait. What's happening? No! It can't be yet.
Franklin! Franklin!
Constance? Is that you? What happened? Where am I?
At the Great Pyramid of Giza, of course. And we await our chosen one and the relic.
You mean I'm finally gonna touch the green ball? This is a dream come true.
Franklin, rest up. The fight has only begun.
The final battle is set up now. It's us against the shadows. Who will be the chosen one? Well, let's first check out the 5th and 3rd place matches before we get to our Green Bowl. In the Lightning Bowl, Risky Business takes on Green Acres at the Tower of Lightning, with the winner getting the 8th pick in next year's draft. This is being listed as a 50-50 toss-up at the moment, with revenge on the mind of Green Acres, who lost out on a division title and the number 1 seed to Risky Business in the last game of the regular season. Tom Brady versus Justin Herbert looked to be pretty big here, as is the Elvin Kamara versus Austin Eckler battle. The Eagles versus the Patriots defense and Joe Mixon versus Sony Michel should also be keys. Risky Business most likely will need a replacement for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And in the Roman Bowl, Galgal faces Uncle Justy at the Coliseum of Warriors, with the winner getting the 9th pick in next year's draft. Uncle Justy looks to finish one spot higher than last season and gets divisional foe Galgal, who was upset in the semifinals. Uncle Justy comes in as the 60.4% favorite. Josh Allen versus Dak Prescott, Stephon Diggs and Antonio Brown versus Jonathan Taylor and Najee Harris, and the Rams versus the Packers defense looks to be the big keys here. Don't sleep on Rob Gronkowski for Uncle Justy or Darrell Williams for Galgal. Both of them could also turn the tides. And now it is the moment we've all been waiting for, the final test to determine the chosen one. It's time for the second-seeded Great Superior Super Bowls, my Super Bowls, who are 12-4 overall this season, takes on 5th-seeded Remember the Titans, who are 9-7 overall at the Great Pyramid. As expected, the computers believe this will be a close, high-scoring battle of epic proportions, as my Super Bowls are favorites by just 53%. Matchups are very good on both sides, and both teams have stud players that could light up the scoreboard at any time. This is expected to be a heavyweight battle. Patrick Mahomes versus Joe Burrow at quarterback kind of sets the stage here. Burrow just got done with that monster game against fourth-string cornerbacks, but the Chiefs' defense has played much better in recent weeks. Defensively, the Bengals tend to bungle it up, allowing a third-string quarterback to pile up some fantasy numbers against them last week. That bodes well for Mahomes. Deebo Samuel versus Cooper Kupp is a pretty special battle as well. Kupp leads the league in touchdowns and has played like the number 1 overall pick at the wide receiver position. But Samuel has also been a beast, being deployed as a runner sometimes and getting a lot of high-value touches in the red zone. Samuel will most likely have the backup quarterback throwing to him, but the last time that happened, he had over 20 points. George Kittle versus Travis Kelce at tight end is also huge. Kelce is coming back from COVID-19 and cannot practice until he's officially cleared from the list. Kelce, of course, can cancel out Mahomes' touchdowns, but he and Kittle both have beast potential with 30-point games already this season. Kelce was the MVP of Remember the Titans quarterfinal match, so he will be looking for a similar production here. Nick Chubb and Josh Jacobs versus Damian Harris and Rashad Penny also look to be big. Harris and Penny both have very, very good matchups on paper and should get plenty of touches. Chubb has been a machine lately, and Jacobs is the top guy in Las Vegas regardless of matchup. The Saints defense and the Bears defense also have good matchups. Nick Folk versus Matt Prater at kicker might also lead to plenty of points, and CeeDee Lamb versus Jalen Waddle could be a dark horse matchup for changing the momentum if either of them have big games. But that leaves the clear keys for me in this matchup, both of them being wide receivers For the Superb Owls, my Superb Owls, I'm looking at wide receiver Tyreek Hill. He was one of my keys earlier this year as well. Hill was limited in the semifinals due to having COVID-19 and not coming off the list until Saturday afternoon. The Chiefs also destroyed Pittsburgh, so Hill might have just been rested essentially because he wasn't needed. But now he'll have a full week to get into the game plan and practice, and he gets the Bengals defense, which has allowed 2,354 yards and 13 touchdowns against wide receivers this season. Hill himself has 1,178 yards and 9 touchdowns, and he's always a threat for a 50-plus yard touchdown. Despite those great numbers, he's kind of been up and down from week to week with a high of 36 points in week 4. He's had 4 games over 20 points, 7 games over 10 points, but he's also had 5 games under 5 points. Whichever Hill shows up here will most likely be huge for my Superb Owls result. For remember the Titans, I'm turning to wide receiver Justin Jefferson. Jefferson is in year 2 of his career and is one of the best receivers of all time in his first 2 seasons. Jefferson has 1,335 yards and 9 touchdowns this year and has been more consistent than Hill with 11 games over 10 points, including 2 games over 20 points. One of those games over 20 points actually happened in week 11 against Green Bay, the same team Jefferson faces this week. But of course, that was a dome game. This week's game is outside in cold weather. Not sure if that makes a difference. Green Bay has allowed 2,217 yards and 16 touchdowns against wide receivers, but I'm guessing that if Adam Thielen is unable to go, then the Packers will most likely put all of their attention against limiting Jefferson. Jair Alexander was also activated off IR, though it's not known if he'll play Sunday or not. If he does, even with rust after missing 11 games, his addition does make the Packers secondary a little tougher to score against. Regardless, Jefferson is the number 1 guy for Kirk Cousins right now, and he'll have plenty of targets. So his play on Sunday night could be a game clincher for Remember the Titans, depending on the way the results go. And that's the show for the week. I hope you enjoyed it. Just one more episode to go as we found out all the place winners, including who will hold up the Green Bowl trophy this season. And of course, we'll get the exciting conclusion to our post-apocalyptic sci-fi, slightly cosmic horror theme story. Will we succeed? Is this all set up by the shadows? And what will the fate of our remaining characters be? Find out next week.
Please follow the SunDried Tomatoes YouTube channel and watch content including original shows like Legends of the Diamond, random reactions, and Brewing the Facts, the SunDried Tomatoes podcast in video form, and other sports, brewing, or entertainment-related videos. You can like the Facebook page and follow me on Instagram at eclectic_yotso for news updates and just to get to know me better.